We are yet another step closer to wiping out Obama-era online privacy laws. In the craziness and the cartoony nonsense of Trump, Republicans continue to do real damage, and it's important for us to cover not only the Trump scandals, but also what Republicans are doing, and we've been doing that. Congress has now sent the proposed legislation that would allow, among other things, internet service providers to sell your browsing history to advertisers. Not only has the Senate voted in favor of these rules, the House has voted in favor of these rules, and now it goes to President Donald Trump. Earlier this week, the story was the Senate voted to let ISPs sell your browsing history to advertisers. Now the House has also voted in favor, and it goes to Trump's desk. And if Donald Trump signs the legislation, I said earlier this week, maybe Trump wouldn't sign it. What I'm hearing now, Pat, is that more than likely Trump is going to sign it. This will allow internet service providers to monitor customers' online behavior. It would allow them to, without permission, use personal and financial information of their customers to sell very highly targeted ads. Search engines and streaming video sites are already collecting a lot of this usage data. And what would be allowed now would be the sale of this data and the use of this data by advertisers and in a number of other ways. And obviously, any advocate for privacy protection is saying that this is a disastrous setback for the United States in terms of internet privacy law. The funniest quote I found about this is from cuckoo Republican Marsha Blackburn. She said, sit down for this. She said, consumer privacy will be enhanced by removing the uncertainty and confusion that these rules will create. Yeah, now it'll be completely clear that all of your data, including browsing data, is being sold to advertisers, whereas before maybe you weren't sure that it was being sold. What kind of an explanation, what kind of support is that to say, now there will be no doubt as to what internet service providers are doing with your data? This is the weakest defense of this that I've heard.
They always try to just flip it to make it sound like a good thing. And we're in a really bad position when Donald Trump is our last hope in defeating this. But who knows? He may just choose not to sign it because he was elected as a populist. He doesn't really have any direct stake in this, I would say. But also, on the other hand, maybe he's trying to appease his Republican base a little bit more, especially after the defeat of their Obamacare repeal effort. So we'll see. Who knows at this point what he'll do? He
is against net neutrality. He doesn't understand what it is. He once said something like, net neutrality is the fairness doctrine and I'm against it, right? It was a completely clueless statement, but he knows enough to know that he's against it. Why? It's not clear. Also, on Marsha Blackburn has received nearly $700,000 from the ISP cable industry and their associated lobbyists. She has not done anything in recent years that would go against the desires of the phone lobby, the cable lobby, and the ISP lobby. Not a single Democrat voted for this bill in either the House or the Senate. This is the power of having a majority in both houses and in the White House. And for all of the Trump executive orders that don't really do anything, Republicans in the House and Senate are doing real damage. And oftentimes we'll get emails from people saying, David, both parties are the same. Or we'll get emails from people saying, David, the Republicans can't do anything right and the Democrats are doing everything right. The truth is somewhere in between. The truth is not that both parties are the same. That's very clear because we saw a 100% party line vote on this. Every Republican voting in favor of this, other than a couple of Republicans in the Senate, I believe, who didn't vote at all. Every Democrat voting against it. That's a major difference between Democrats and Republicans. So don't fall for the falsely dichotomous view that you either have a great party and a terrible party, or that both parties are the same. The truth is, on many issues, there's not a real practical operational difference between Democrats and Republicans, but there are also major differences between Democrats and Republicans on important issues.
And that's why it's too bad that this most recent election came down to Donald Trump versus Hillary Clinton, where, you know, the Democrat versus Republican angle is really much more important because that determines who's going to have power over the entire executive branch. And if you vote for, let's say, a Republican for president, you're more likely to vote for Republicans in the Senate and Congress.
And they took over every single one of those branches, houses, rather. An important practical question. Are there practical steps you can take as a consumer to increase your online privacy? I genuinely am unsure. Initially, people were emailing me saying, David, you're going to want to use a VPN, a virtual private network for browsing. But I read more and more that that may not really protect you. And basically, instead of your internet service provider having a list of websites you visited, it will be the VPN that has that list, and you need to trust the VPN, and a lot of websites won't work through a VPN. Netflix, for example, tries to block all traffic from VPN, so that's one possibility that may not actually be the panacea that some believe it to be. Others emailed me saying, David, you should be using Tor to browse the internet because it anonymizes your internet use by routing your browsing through multiple servers around the world, but Wired has an article saying that that may actually not be as effective as some people believe. So bottom line, I don't really know what there is that the individual consumer can definitively do.
What about the incognito mode on Google Chrome?
Oh,
or
my
just
goodness.
frequently emptying your browsing history?
Yeah,
Shows what I know.
If you emptying your browsing history, your internet service provider already has your browsing history. You can empty the local browsing history, but your ISP already has it. And incognito mode is not meant, but I'm glad you brought that up. Incognito mode does not hide what you're doing from your internet service provider. It can hide some of your information or block cookies and tracking information from the website that you're visiting, but your ISP will still have the data. So it's bad out there.
We're screwed.
Yeah, well, I think that we may be. It's pretty bad out there. If your congressperson voted for this bill, start calling and tell them that they have lost your vote. And there are a number of discussions about this on our Reddit discussion forum, which you can join at davidpakman.com/REDDIT. Today's episode of The David Pakman Show is made possible in part by Warby Parker eyeglasses. Warby Parker recently did the right thing and ditched advertising on right-wing conspiracy website Breitbart, pulling their ads off. And you can get the free 5-day home try-on from Warby Parker. Check out their glasses. I use them when I'm not wearing contact lenses. I started with the free at-home trial. They send you 5 pairs of glasses. You see which ones you like, you send them back, and whichever one you pick, they will put your prescription into. I like this because I can actually show the glasses to other people and not have to just decide on the spot like in an eyeglass store. The eyeglass industry is controlled by very few corporations that keep the prices very, very high, even over $300 for prescription glasses. With Warby Parker, they start at just $95. Mine costs that, including lenses. And for every pair sold, they give a pair to someone in need. So to try the 5 pairs and support the David Pakman Show, go to warbyparkertrial.com/TDPS.